Welcome to the conversation you never knew you needed. No filters, no masks, just real talk and honest insight.
Ever scrolling through Instagram, seeing those flawless faces and wonder if maybe a little something something could help you get that glow? Or maybe you're debating between a pricey serum and just accepting that fine line life. We've all been there. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the cost of beauty. And I'm not just talking about your average trip to Sephora, all right? We're talking the real deal, the nitty-gritty of looking and feeling fabulous.
Yeah, those costs can really add up.
No kidding. So we're going to break down those beauty budgets, explore those aesthetic alternatives. The stuff people don't always want to talk about. First up, let's talk about that everyday beauty routine. The stuff we kind of do without even thinking about it.
Right, the skincare, the makeup, those little trips to the salon.
Exactly. And the research we're looking at uses this example of a 35-year-old executive, someone who's killing it in their career, but probably not getting enough sleep.
A pretty relatable scenario for a lot of people, I'd say.
Totally. And when you actually add up all those everyday essentials, it's kind of wild. Skincare alone, we're talking, maybe 500 to 1,000 pounds a year, serums, moisturizers, SPF, it all adds up.
Especially with all the new products and ingredients popping up all the time.
Oh, for sure. And then there's makeup. Another, 300 to 700 pounds annually? And don't even get me started on those salon trips.
Oh, yeah, those can be dangerous for the bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Haircuts, coloring, the occasional facial, easily another 500 to 1,000 pounds a year, right?
Right. And we haven't even talked about those little extras.
The brows, the lashes, the waxing.
Exactly. All that can easily add up to another couple hundred pounds, if not more. So we're looking at, somewhere between 1,500 to 3,200 pounds per year just to keep up with the basics.
Yeah, it's a significant chunk of change. Makes you think,
Makes you want to rethink that impulse buy, right?
Maybe just a little. But that brings up an interesting point. What if, instead of just masking those imperfections, we could invest in, actually addressing them?
Okay, so you're talking about those aesthetic treatments.
Exactly. What if, instead of that expensive concealer,
you invest in something a little more, shall we say, long-lasting?
Precisely.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about those alternatives, those treatments that promise to not just conceal, but transform. Hit me with it.
It's funny you mentioned that whole transformational thing because this research actually dives into that.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it compares those treatments to, get this, luxury purchases.
Really?
Yeah. They're both investments in a way. One's just, a little more tangible.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Right. Are you buying that designer bag?
Right.
Or are you buying into, yourself?
Okay, so we're talking about more than just, looking a certain way.
Way more.
It's about how these choices make you feel, right?
Exactly. And the research actually gets into that. The psychology of it all talks about how these treatments can really boost your confidence.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just oh, I want to get rid of this wrinkle.
Not at all.
It's more about, if I get rid of this wrinkle, then I'm going to feel this way.
Exactly. You feel refreshed, maybe even a bit younger.
Mm-hmm.
And those feelings, those are legit. Those aren't just superficial changes.
Right. And they can impact, everything else you do, how you go about your day, your work life.
Oh, absolutely. Relationships, how you handle stress, everything. It's all connected.
Yeah.
And, it's easy to just write that off as, oh, it's just vanity.
Right.
But
Yeah.
feeling good about yourself, that's, essential.
Totally. It's self-care. And speaking of investing in yourself, there was this really interesting story in the research about one of Dr. Hack's patients.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And get this, she worked at a high-end fashion house, right? So surrounded by designer everything.
Oh, wow.
But instead of blowing her money on a lifetime supply of handbags, she chose to invest in herself, literally became a fashionista instead of a fashionista.
Well, that's kind of cool, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes you think about priorities,
Yeah.
What's really important.
For sure. It's are we seeing a shift? Are people moving away from material things and more towards experiences or, like you said, self-improvement?
Right. Or maybe it's both, right? I mean, we're constantly bombarded with these images of perfection.
Well, 100%. Yeah.
And maybe people are starting to realize that while real confidence comes from within, a little help from these treatments can give you that extra boost.
Totally. And it's not about trying to fit some mold.
Right.
It's about making choices that feel right for you.
I like that.
If you think a treatment will help you feel more comfortable, more confident in your own skin, then that's valid.
Totally. So I'm curious, what about you? Would you rather Like, rock that designer label or invest in a treatment that'll make you feel your best.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Right. Is it about keeping up with trends, or is it more about, like, investing in yourself, how you feel?
That's such a good question, and it actually ties into something else the research mentioned.
It's like we're always looking for that quick fix, you know? Whether it's that new serum that promises to, like, erase your pores or, yeah, okay, that designer bag that's going to make you happy.
It's true. Instant gratification,
Yeah.
but like real change, whether it's how we look or how we feel about ourselves,
Right.
that takes time. Like real, actual effort, you know?
Totally. So, like, where does that leave us in this whole Botox or Birkin debate?
You know what? There's no right answer,
Yeah.
really. It's not about judging anyone's choices. It's about recognizing that there's so many options.
A whole spectrum, right?
Exactly. And wherever you fall on that spectrum is totally okay.
As long as you're making those choices for yourself.
100%. Not for, like, anyone else or because of some, I don't know, weird societal pressure.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
got to feel good about your decisions.
Yes. Okay, so then what does real beauty even mean anymore?
That's the question, right?
Especially with social media and, like, everyone's highlight reel constantly in your face.
It's so easy to forget that, like,
Mhm.
none of that is real, you know?
It's all curated, filtered.
Exactly. Don't let those images, like, define your own version of beauty.
Or happiness.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the everyday stuff, the treatments, even touched on those deeper questions.
The big picture stuff.
Right, so what's the takeaway here? For someone listening thinking, okay, what do I do with all this?
I think it comes down to this. What does beauty mean to you? Like, really? And how much are you willing to invest? Time, money, just, like, taking care of yourself.
Self-care is free, sort of?
Right. But seriously, that's the question to ask yourself.
I love that, because at the end of the day, it's your face, your body, your choice.
Right,
Yeah.
100%. You decide what makes you feel your best.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been like a roller coaster of a deep dive today, wouldn't you say?
Oh, sure.
Eye-opening, for sure. But then I think if there's one thing to remember, it's that true beauty. It's about feeling good in your own skin.
Yes.
And, like, how you get there. Totally up to you. All right, that's it for today's deep dive, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.